The lesson we can learn from an x27. Game of Thrones. This line exemplifies the fearless grit that Arya shows as she trains to be an assassin, and she's not the only character who confronts danger and finds the necessary strength to persevere. Although her sister, in the first season, the Stark sisters leave their home in the frigid north, with one hoping to learn to use her sword, while the other plans to marry the dapper Prince Joffrey. The Journey South. The show, based on George Wright Reverend Martin's epic fan. In the mid-90s, at age 35, I found myself nearing the end of my first night working at a bar in Manhattan and subleasing an apartment in New York's Lower East Side. The apartment. Los Angeles was my hometown, but my move to Hollywood was not unlike Sansa's trip to King's Landing. I was excited about the adventure and expected perfect results. Instead, I lost two people close to me that year as I was writing in Hollywood. My former mentor. That Christmas Eve, I went to bed, feeling like a failure in my professional work. I couldn't make money. My failures felt daunting, but I woke up on Christmas Day and realized it was time to push forward. I had no reason. I spent some time sleeping on friends' floors before I found a theater apartment, and worked temp jobs filing microfiche before I started bartending. It wasn't glamorous. I kept working toward my goals, even when they seemed out of reach. I had a passion. In life, we all face unforgiving competition, unpredictable adversity, occasional betrayal, and too often doubt and despair. These are inevitable, as game. 2019 Cable News Network. Turner Broadcasting.
Raindrop, truck top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. I get fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.